Hello and welcome back to Free Spirit Yoga. I'm Sally and today is day 29 of the Samaritan's 30-day yoga challenge. We are so almost there. Today's session is going to be a little bit different. We're going to briefly practice pranayama, breathing practice to calm and focus our minds. And then I'm going to talk to you about the first two limbs of yoga. Remember, I've talked to you before about the 8 limbs of yoga, the Ashtanga Yoga. Ash means 8 and Anga means limb. So it's 8 limbs of yoga. It's an 8-fold path that leads to samadhi, which is the equivalent of the Buddhist nirvana or enlightenment. And asana is the 3rd limb of yoga. Preceding asana, there is the first limb, which is yamas, and the second limb, which is niyamas. So there's 5 yamas and 5 niyamas. So 10 like moral codes in total. So you can think of them maybe like in the same kind of way as the 10 commandments. They are like a right way of living, things that we should control, things that we should observe in order to have a calm, unfluctuating mind, which will allow us then to sit in concentration and achieve a state of meditation, which will liberate us to samadhi. Obviously, if we live in the wrong way, then it's very difficult to have a calm and focused mind. So the first limb, the yamas, you'll recognise the word yama from pranayama, and in that context it means breath control or life force control or restraint. So the meaning of the word yama is to control or to restrain. So these are 5 things that we should control about the way we act in the world. So I'm going to talk to you about each of them. It's going to be really brief for each of these 5 yamas and 5 niyamas because it's just a very short session. I could talk for hours on each of them, but it's just going to give you a very brief idea of what the 5 yamas and the 5 niyamas are. Now, ni is a prefix which means not to, so not to control, not to restrain. It translates as observances, things, the way that we should treat ourselves, things that we should observe in ourselves. So there's 5 of those as well. So I'm just going to, as I say, briefly talk to you about each of the 5 yamas and 5 niyamas. Okay, so let's get started. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, because it's just a brief breathing practice, and then you're listening to me. If you want to sit on your mat on the floor, if you want to sit on a chair, if you want to sit on your bed, just probably better idea to sit with a straight back so that your mind doesn't wander and you can concentrate, but wherever you feel comfortable sitting. Okay. Let's go. Okay, so just starting off with brief pranayama breathing practice, just to calm and focus our minds. So let's just sit wherever you are, sitting on a chair, on your bed, on the floor, sitting with a straight back, shoulders back, chest lifted, closing our eyes, beginning by focusing on our breath. Initially not trying to control or change our breath, just drawing our focus, our attention there. starting to control your breath, starting to deepen your breath. Breathing in and out through your nose. Long, slow, deep breaths. Remember, allow your abdomen to come out as you inhale. Draw your abdomen in as you exhale. If you can, breathe with the Ujjayi breath, the ocean sound breath, by slightly constricting the back of your throat as you inhale and exhale to create that friction, to create that hissing sound. Now just adding a slight pause in between your inhalation and exhalation. Just enjoy holding those lungfuls of air. Turning back to normal breathing, your natural breath, keeping your focus on your breath. And slowly opening your eyes. Okay, let's talk about the yamas. Okay, the first yama is Ahimsa. Ahimsa translates as absence of violence. So it means non-violence, non-harming, and this is a common concept that runs through Indian philosophy dating back thousands of years. You may recognise it from Gandhi and his approach to Indian independence. And on the surface, I mean, it seems obvious, doesn't it? We shouldn't intentionally cause physical harm or be violent to other people, to other beings. But there are many different layers to all of these yamas and niyamas. When I say I could talk about them for hours, you know, there's so many different things you could go into. But as well as just the obvious, not causing physical harm to other people, other beings, is also that, you know, that it's not just physical, it's the harm that can be done with words, so thinking about what you say, and not being verbally harmful to others. Also, it's maybe our non-intentional actions, so sometimes we act, or often we act, without really thinking about what we're doing, and this can unintentionally cause harm to others. So part of ahimsa is being mindful about how we behave in the world, the consequences of our actions, and just being thoughtful and conscious. And the other thing that we want to think about is how we often can cause harm to ourselves, often with our behaviour, and maybe it's overeating or overindulging in or taking drugs or drinking alcohol, causing ourselves harm, and also the way that we talk to ourselves, so verbally causing ourselves harm. I don't know about you, but the way that I talk to myself sometimes is it's a way that I would never talk to anybody else. So it's also just observing ahimsa towards yourself, non-harming, non-violence towards yourself. Okay, so that's yama number 1, ahimsa. Okay, yama number 2 is satya. Satya translates as that which is. So it means truthfulness or non-lying. So again, on the surface, this seems obvious and straightforward. I mean, of course, we should be honest and we shouldn't lie to people. But again, there are many different layers to this. It is also, again, thinking about how we treat ourselves. And I don't know about you, but I am amazing at lying to myself. This is one of the yamas that I really have to consciously to work on. So like kind of chipping away at your beliefs and working out, where am I being honest with myself? Where am I lying to myself? And that way you can be honest to the world and not lie like unintentionally. So really being honest with yourself is another layer to satya. And so being aware of your prejudices, we all have them. And we'll come to this later in the niyamas. One of those is self-study. So yeah, it's just being honest in the world. But remember that this also sits on top of non-harming. So we should also think carefully about what we say. We're not just bluntly telling the truth, no matter what. Sometimes if the truth can really cause harm, then maybe we want to still try not to lie, but maybe we want to not say certain things just because they are true. So this is satya. This is yama number 2. Okay, yama number 3 is Asteya, which translates as non-stealing. So again, like on the surface, this is really obvious. I mean, obviously we shouldn't go around stealing material things from other people. We shouldn't take other people's possessions without asking. Or we shouldn't steal from shops, or steal from banks, etc., etc. But again, like there are many different layers to this, and basically we shouldn't take anything that's not given to us freely. So this Asteya could also refer to stealing other people's ideas. It could refer to stealing time from people, wasting other people's time. It can refer to responsibly using resources, so not stealing from the environment. And also another way to think about it is to not steal from your today by constantly ruminating on the past or constantly worrying about the future. So there's many different layers again to this third yama, Asteya, non-stealing. The 4th yama is, I never know if I'm pronouncing this right, Bramacharya. Okay, and this literally means that leads to Brahman. And in Indian philosophy, Brahman is like the all-powerful one, the divine consciousness, God. This is often directly translated as celibacy, but particularly today, maybe it's not quite so narrowly defined. The reason for celibacy, the reason for celibacy would have been that obviously sexual energy is very potent, and if we're wasting all that energy by just directing it towards sex, then we are not using that energy in maybe the best way that we could do. So we can better translate it as the right use of energy. Also maybe as moderation, and this is one that I really have to learn to be better at. I am getting better at it, but I'm one of those people that's all or nothing. So I'm working on being better at moderation. So it's just thinking about how we're using our energy, whether we're channeling it correctly or in a good way, or whether we are pouring too much energy into work, for example, or maybe things that don't serve us that well, and just being moderate in all of our activities. Okay, so that is Yama number 4. The fifth and final yama is another word which I'm never quite sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. It's Aparigrapha, and that translates as like non-greed, non-grasping, non-possessiveness. So this is like a common theme that runs through Eastern traditions, and I think it is very relevant to today, when we're always encouraged to want more, to have the latest phone, to have the latest this, the latest that, and to really place a lot of importance upon our material possessions. Now, I feel that this is actually something that I do quite good at this level. I'm not a materialistic person. Like I like to have very few possessions. So on that level, I think I do well. However, there are different levels to this yama as all the other yamas, and it also refers not to just material things, but maybe letting go of expectations, and outcomes, what we want to achieve, not holding on so tightly to them. I mean, not to say that we can't have aspirations, but not but holding it so important that things have to turn out a particular way. That is something that I can definitely work on. And also it's letting go maybe of things that have happened in your past, things that have caused you pain. It's dealing with those so that you can let them go and not keep grasping onto them, not allowing them to keep on affecting your present. It could also be, letting go of grudges that you hold against people, practicing forgiveness. So those are different kinds of levels of Aparigrapha. Okay, so that's all of the yamas, the 5 yamas. Okay, so now we're on to the niyamas. And the first niyama is Saucha. And Saucha translates as purity or cleanliness. So again, like on the surface, this is referring to bodily cleanliness, keeping our bodies clean, environmental cleanliness, keeping the environment around us clean. For me, that has a strong effect on the calmness and stillness of my mind. Like if the environment around me isn't clean and tidy, then that makes it very difficult for me to have a calm and still mind. It also refers to like our internal cleanliness and purity. So thinking about the food that we eat, like eating fresh food, good food rather than processed food, and also thinking about the things that we consume mentally. So maybe the things that we watch on TV or YouTube, the things that we read, the people that we talk to, the conversations that we have. And so it refers as much to what we consume mentally as well as physically. And also it refers to keeping like a clarity of mind. So that's very easy not to do, I think, in today's culture, when we quite often live in little echo chambers on the internet. So we kind of lose clarity of mind. So maybe it's also talking and discussing your ideas with people with different views from you, and maintaining that clarity of mind. Okay, so that's Saucha. That is the first niyama. Okay, so niyama number 2 is Santosha. And so Santosha means contentment, or acceptance. So it is being content with the way things are, accepting things as they are, being happy with what you've got. It doesn't mean that you can't have aspirations, that you've not got things to aim for. We'll come on to that in the next niyama. But it means accepting that this is how things are currently. You know, maybe that you want to improve them, but that this is how things are. And being content with that, being happy with that, and being happy with what you already have. So that is the second niyama, Santosha. The third niyama is tapas. No, that's not Spanish food. Okay, tapas. It translates as heat. So it means like self-discipline, or making a dedicated effort to something. So we just talked about Santosha being content and happy with the way things are, but that, as I said, doesn't mean that we can't have aspirations. We should have aspirations. We're aiming creatures. To have an aim, to work towards something, is what gives us a sense of meaning, a sense of purpose. And tapas is the effort that we put into that, the discipline that we apply to ourselves to enable us to work towards goals that we have, to put that effort into attaining the things that we want to achieve. But remember that this is on the back of being non-grasping, non-possessive, Aparigrapha. So we should focus on the process of what we do to get what we want to achieve, and hold loosely onto the actual outcome, the actual aim of what we want to achieve. So that is niyama number 3, tapas, or self-discipline. Okay, the fourth niyama is, again, I never know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, is Svadhyaya, and it translates as one's own reading, or it's quite often referred to as self-study. So I did briefly talk about this when I was talking about the yamas and not lying to yourself. So it is coming to understand yourself. So really, I mean, for me, that means like chipping away at the things, like the surface things which you tell yourself about yourself, and coming to really know your deep self. Traditionally, maybe this was done by studying scripture, and if you are religious, Christian, for example, maybe it's through study of the Bible. For me personally, it's more like the study of philosophy, the study of psychology, and just coming to know all of the different ways in which I fool myself, in which I don't understand myself, and trying to come to a better understanding of myself and how to lead a good life, and how to be in the world. Okay, so that is self-study, Svadhyaya. Okay, the final fifth niyama is Isvara Pranidhana. Okay, so Isvara is like God or the Lord, and Pranidhana is to surrender to. So the translation of this is to surrender to God. Now, if you're not religious, I don't have a particular religion. It can be, you know, what we consider God to be can be like the interconnected vastness of all, like the thing that we're part of that is bigger than ourselves. And maybe this is something we've let go of a little bit in today's culture, but it's something that I'm really coming to appreciate the importance of. Okay, so it is surrender to the thing that is bigger than yourself, whether you take that to be like a Christian God or a Hindu God or whatever. If you take it to just be the world as a whole, and our small place within that part, that whole thing is God, or the divine being, or the Gaia. It is surrendering to all the many things that you can't control, that will never be part of your control, and realizing that you are part of something that is much bigger than yourself. Okay, so that is the final and fifth niyama. Thank you very much for joining me for day 29 and listening to my my ramblings about the yamas and niyamas. Seriously though, I hope it's given you like a basic understanding, a basic outline of the first two limbs of yoga, and how living by these things can help you to have a calm mind, to live a good life, so that you feel good to sit in concentration practice, which then can help you achieve that state of meditation, and finally maybe samadhi. I'm way away from there at the moment. Okay, so yeah, that was day 29. Tomorrow is the final day of the challenge, and we're going to be looking at concentration practice, which hopefully can lead to that state of meditation. So join me then. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and donate money to the Samaritans by following the link below. See you tomorrow.